because you slept on sheets of silk and pillows of goose down, and look at you sleeping on the hard earth. And she says, Draupadi is a good manager, so she has a bias for action. So she says, let's collect an army and let's go and win back our kingdom, which was stolen from us in a rigged game of dice. And she says, it is your dharma as an kshatriya to wage a just war. Yudhishthir says, no, my great queen, my dharma is the fact that I have given my word to Dhritarashtra. And my word is that we have to spend the next 13 years in exile. Now you notice there are two meanings of dharma that they're both discussing this. Draupadi has talked about the dharma of the kshatriya, and Yudhishthir has talked about much more a dharma of his conscience, a word that he has given a promise. And so you have in the Mahabharata a fascinating discussion, a kind of clash of dharmas. And this shows you that actually the epic as it evolved incorporated new ideas. Yudhishthir's dharma has come much more from the Buddhist tradition. And one of the things I speculate in my book is, what if Arjuna's charioteer, Sutta, had been Buddha rather than Krishna? The Mahabharata would have gone in a different direction, right? Anyway, so as they're discussing this question of dharma, one of the issues here becomes means versus ends, because Draupadi says that we have a good end in view. You are a great honorable king. And his view is that no, but we can't adopt the wrong means to the end. And there's a very interesting point that Vidura makes. You know Vidur Niti? Well, Vidura says that, look, you can sacrifice a person for the sake of a village. And you can sacrifice a village for the sake of a nation. Which means, dharma means that the greatest good for the greatest number is the achieving of dharma. While I was writing this chapter, I read an account in the Times of India, and you may have remember it too, that there was a child who was drowning on a beach in Goa. And this boy, who came with a party of friends from Delhi, jumped in and saved this boy. Now the reporter of the Times of India asked this boy, "You are a hero," she said. "Tell us why you did it." And he looked very sheepishly and he said, "You know, actually I was trying to impress one of the girls in our group." And the reporter said, "But then you're not a hero." But you see, Vidur would have said, "But the child was saved. So the moral deed was done. So what difference does it make what his motivation was?" Now you see, this is where Yudhishthir would disagree. Yudhishthir would have jumped in even if no one was looking to save the child. So these are examples of moral dilemmas, and why Mahabharata teaches you, why Mahabharata improves your moral skills. And that's very important for CEOs who daily face moral dilemmas in their work and their life. Anyway, let me skip a little bit and go to when Yudhishthir comes back from exile and he wants his kingdom now back Indraprastha, which Duryodhana has taken. But Duryodhana refuses. They have these long peace negotiations, and the peace negotiations fail. And finally Yudhishthir has to declare war. Now this is the same Yudhishthir who refused Draupadi to collect an army and go and get the kingdom. Now Yudhishthir has changed. The dharma of the leader, what the Mahabharata is telling you, is not Yudhishthir's dharma or the earlier Yudhishthir's dharma, but a much more pragmatic dharma. And the notion of this pragmatic dharma is what I call reciprocal altruism. Reciprocal altruism is basically, you see it as essentially as presenting a happy face to the world, but if you are slapped on this happy face, then you have to slap the other person back, which is tit for tat. It's not immoral, because your first move is a happy move. You do the first good deed. But if the good deed is not reciprocated, then you have to act in a different way. Anyway, I could go on, and there isn't the time. Let me just quickly close by saying that the Mahabharata, at a great moment in the Gita was inserted later into the epic, by the way. It was the Vaishnava influence that began in the 1st century BC. And Bhishma is dead on the 10th day that the Gita is inserted, when Sanjay says Bhishma is dead. And he presses a reverse button, and we are back at the beginning of the war, and Arjun has looking at the troops in that famous scene that everybody knows, and General Malik referred to it a few minutes ago, says, I don't want to fight. Now, I think generals cannot say that, but political leaders can say that. And why Arjuna is a good model for our political leaders is because he at least puts the moral dimension into the equation. Imagine just before the Iraq war, George Bush is having a meeting with his cabinet. You have Cheney, Rumsfeld, Wolfowitz, all of them. They're discussing the economic consequences of going into Iraq, the political consequences, oil, etc., Israel. Nobody says, we're going to this war and we are going to kill people tomorrow, and many of these people we're going to kill will be our own people. And why Arjuna is admirable, in my view, is that we want our political leaders to put the moral dimension also in the equation. Anyway, one of the reasons that Krishna uses to persuade Arjuna is the famous thing about Nishkam Karma, that act for the sake of the action and not for your personal reward. Something that Harry Truman expressed to the people of America, that when you don't care who gets the credit, your work will be good. The same idea. And this is also the idea, essentially, where if